Namaskar. A warm welcome to World News, an Indian perspective on All India Radio. This is Ramya and with me is Aditi Lumba, bringing glimpses of the major developments of the day from across the globe. Over the next half an hour, we shall bring you the latest from the world of politics, economy, sports, entertainment and more. The headlines. India puts new reality on display with Davos Street Show. Indian Minister Dr. Mansukh Mandavia exhorts India's commitment to strengthen digital health system and in closing the vaccine gap. In the United States, 19 children and 2 adults killed in a shooting attack at an elementary school in the southern state of Texas. 3 Pakistani terrorists killed in an encounter with security forces in North Kashmir's Baramulla district. Delhi court awards life imprisonment to Kashmiri separatist Yasin Malik under Unlawful Activities Prevention Act UAPA. US stock markets stumbled triggered by worries of aggressive federal moves to curb decades-high inflation might tip the economy into recession. Digital footprints of All India Radio News gather pace, cross 3 million followers on Twitter. Former Grand Slam champions Angelique Kerber and Victoria Azarenka advanced to third round of women's singles of French Open tennis, and an IPL eliminator match between Lucknow Super Giants and Royal Challengers Bangalore underway in Kolkata. India has put a new reality on display with Davos Street Show. Bright colours and bold logos signal where India has set up base on the main street in Davos this year as the country trumpets its pro-business and foreign investment drive. Inside a pavilion, the federal government served up treats including masala chai, tea and samosa snacks with hectic business meetings all around. Clustered around are 6 Indian states with their own lounges. Invest India CEO said, "What this treat really shows you is the new reality of India." The CEO said India has record participation numbers this year. Indian Minister of Health and Family Welfare Dr. Mansukh Mandavia has exhorted India's commitment to strengthen the digital health system and in closing the vaccine gap, underscoring the need to strengthen Equitable Vaccine Manufacturing Collaborative (EVMC). The Union Minister said the digital health is a great equalizer and enabler to support universal health coverage and sustainable development goals. He said it can help ensure accessibility and affordability of health service delivery. Dr. Mandavia was delivering his opening remarks for unlocking the power of digital health and closing vaccine gaps session at the World Economic Forum annual meeting in Davos on Wednesday. Mr. Mandavia said that India has been known as the pharmacy of the world, which has shown its prowess in vaccine research and development, manufacturing and implementation. He said the country indigenously developed COVID-19 vaccines and achieved the monumental task of administering more than 1.92 billion vaccines. He added that India would also like to extend its support to Africa in taking the journey from vaccine availability till vaccination with a focus on implementation based on India's experience of vaccinating 96% of its population with the first dose and 86% with both the doses. He said Prime Minister Narendra Modi's vision of One Earth, One Health, India has always supported the world. Under Vaccine Maitri, India has supplied vaccines to 100 countries and provided drugs to 150 countries during COVID.
In the United States, 19 children and 2 adults were killed on Tuesday in a shooting attack at an elementary school in southern state of Texas. Texas Governor Greg Abbott said earlier that the suspect had also died, adding that it is believed the responding officers killed him. The governor said suspect was a local resident of the city of Uvalde and was believed to have had a handgun and a rifle with which he shot the victims. U.S. President Joe Biden ordered U.S. flags to be flown at half-mast at the White House military posts, naval vessels and U.S. embassies as a mark of respect for the victims of senseless acts of violence. The shooting took place in the small city of Uvalde, home to around 16,000 people, including a large Latino community. Tuesday's shooting was one of the deadliest attacks at a U.S. grade school since 28 people were killed in Sandy Hook, Connecticut, almost a decade ago. The attack came less than 2 weeks after a gunman killed 10 people at a supermarket in the second largest city in the state of New York, Buffalo. In the Indian Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir, 3 Pakistani terrorists were killed in an encounter with security forces that broke out at Najibabad crossing in Creedy area of North Kashmir's Baramulla district on Wednesday. 1 Jammu and Kashmir police personnel also laid his life in the operation. Incriminating materials including arms and ammunition have also been recovered from the possession of the slain terrorists.
In India, a Delhi court has awarded life imprisonment to Kashmiri separatist Yasin Malik, who had earlier pleaded guilty to all the charges, including those under the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act, UAPA, in a terror funding case. The NIA had sought death penalty before the Delhi court for Malik. The investigative agency told Special Judge Praveen Singh in-chamber proceedings that Malik was responsible for the Kashmiri exodus. The amicus curiae appointed by the court to assist Malik had sought minimum punishment, life imprisonment in the matter. The judge, however, said that since he had already been convicted, there was no point in arguing on the facts of the case and that he was already given the opportunity. Prime Minister Narendra Modi arrived in New Delhi Tuesday night after participating in the Quad Leaders Summit as part of his 2-day visit to Japan. Besides Mr. Modi, the Quad Summit was attended by US President Joe Biden and Prime Ministers of Japan and Australia. During the summit, the leaders reiterated their shared commitment to a free, open and inclusive Indo-Pacific and the importance of upholding the principles of sovereignty, territorial integrity and peaceful resolution of disputes. They exchanged perspectives on development in the Indo-Pacific and the conflict in Europe. He participated in the event to launch the Indo-Pacific Economic Framework for Prosperity and chaired a business roundtable in Tokyo. The Prime Minister also interacted with members of the Indian community. Meanwhile, Quad leaders have unequivocally condemned terrorism and violent extremism in all its forms and manifestations. In a joint statement, Quad leaders said there could be no justification for acts of terror.
Quad leaders also issued strong condemnation of all forms of terrorism and a call for expeditiously bringing to justice the perpetrators of the Mumbai Pathankot terror attacks. Also, coordinate more effectively and timely responses to the humanitarian assistance, disaster relief incidences in the region in future through the agreed Quad HADR guidelines.
Foreign Secretary Vinay Mohan Kwatra said there was an excellent warmth between the leaders during the summit. He added that they also held productive and meaningful discussions that were marked by a cooperative and constructive agenda.
First, action-oriented cooperation among Quad partners for free, open and inclusive Indo-Pacific aimed at peace, stability and prosperity in the region. 2. Support for ASEAN unity and centrality. 3. Focus on common efforts to respond on COVID-19, including in particular the post-pandemic recovery. 4th, work together to promote infrastructure delivery. 5thly, the Quad leaders also welcomed a new Indo-Pacific partnership in maritime domain awareness, a regional initiative to respond to humanitarian and natural disasters, as also to combat illegal fishing. Next, shape and build partnership for greater cybersecurity and for transparent, trusted and reliable supply chains across the region.
In today's Hotspot section, we bring you discussion on AIR news commentary. High-power diplomacy in Tokyo carrying the Quad ahead.
Tokyo witnessed high-powered diplomacy as it hosted the second in-person Quadrilateral, that is Quad leaders meeting on May 24th. The primary goal was to reinforce Quad is a force for good, charting a positive cooperative agenda in pursuit of a free and open Indo-Pacific. Quad leaders, including US President Joseph R. Biden, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida, and the newly elected Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese, engaged in deep discussions on the unfolding geopolitical and geo-economic challenges in the Indo-Pacific. Fluid security situation remained at the center of the conversation, including Ukraine, North Korea, East and South China Seas, and Myanmar. The vitality of Quad in upholding a rules-based order, reinforced by the rule of law, transparency, freedom of navigation, respect for territorial integrity and sovereignty, and peaceful resolution of disputes, is imperative. Demonstrating Washington's commitment to this region, President Biden launched the Indo-Pacific Economic Framework, IPEF, earlier on May 23rd. IPEC is anchored on four pillars, including connected economy, resilient economy, clean economy, and fair economy. Articulating India's position, Prime Minister Modi underscored that India will work towards an inclusive and flexible IPEF. With regard to supply chains, India has pushed for trust, transparency, and timeliness, the three T's. The launch of the IPEF witnessed partnership from North Japan, Australia and India, but also several Southeast Asian economies, in addition to South Korea and New Zealand. IPEF is not a free trade agreement. It certainly signifies Washington's economic re-engagement in the Indo-Pacific. In the post-COVID world, Quad's expansive action agenda encompasses resilient supply chains, infrastructure, critical technologies, vaccines, maritime security, cybersecurity, space and climate change. But the origins of the Quad can be traced back to the four countries collectively working in Tsunami Core Group managing the disaster in the Indian Ocean. While they subsequently culminated into the first Quad meeting in 2007, it did not sustain the momentum. The revival of the Quadrilateral Consultation in 2017 after a gap of a decade happened in the backdrop of a drastically altered strategic environment. Outlining the key takeaways from the Tokyo Leaders Meeting includes the Indo-Pacific Partnership for Maritime Domain Awareness, IPMDA. The aim is to deepen cooperation in combating illegal fishing. IPMDA will consult regional informational fusion centers across the region, including in the Indian Ocean, Southeast Asia, and the Pacific Islands, while advancing MDA. Furthermore, Quad Cybersecurity Partnership will be central to seeking software security standards, critical infrastructure protection, supply chain resilience, and harnessing workforce. Discussion on space pivoted around rules, norms, guidelines, and principles for the sustainable use of space. Critical and emerging technologies remain a priority. Quad has launched the Common Statement of Principles on Critical Technology Supply Chains with the objective of pressing forward cooperation on semiconductors. Memorandum of Cooperation on 5G Supplier Diversification and Open RAN, that is Radio Access Network, featured in the discussions. There is already a Track 1.5 mechanism discussing deployment of open and secure telecommunications technologies. Enabling deeper people-to-people connect, Quad Fellowship has been launched, which aims to support 100 STEM, that is science, technology, engineering and mathematics students annually for graduate degrees at the US. Quad Vaccine Partnership demonstrated tangible success with its donation to Cambodia and Thailand of WHO-approved made-in-India vaccines. Quad will continue to focus on equitable distribution of safe, affordable and quality vaccine and last-mile delivery. Infrastructure is another priority as it steers productivity. As such, Quad looks to extend around $50 billion in assistance and investment in the region over 5 years. Furthermore, in bolstering capacities of regional countries in dealing with the debt issues, Quad Debt Management Resource Portal will be useful. Supporting climate action, Quad Climate Change Adaptation and Mitigation Package has been launched, which builds on the conversation on green shipping and ports, clean hydrogen and methane emissions. On the sidelines of the Quad leaders meeting, Prime Minister Modi has engaged bilaterally with each of his counterparts and further consolidated India's key strategic partnerships. In his discussion with Japanese Prime Minister Kishida following the India-Japan 14th Annual Summit in Delhi in March, the leaders reviewed the entire gamut of the special strategic and global partnership and agreed to hold the 2+2 ministerial meeting in Japan. From engaging Japanese corporate leaders to Indian diaspora, Prime Minister Modi infused renewed momentum in the relations. In his discussions with President Biden and Australian Prime Minister Albanese, shared values and strategic interests dominated the high table. Tokyo leaders meeting demonstrated that Quad has become more consequential than ever as leaders balance values and strategy for keeping the Indo-Pacific free, open and inclusive. Nishit Kumar for World News, All India Radio.
Chief of the Force Development Authority at Ministry of Defence, United Arab Emirates, Major General Staff Hassan Mohammad Sultan Bani Hamad, on Wednesday called on Defence Secretary Dr. Ajay Kumar in New Delhi. They discussed ways to enhance defence cooperation between the two countries. The General also briefed the Defence Secretary about the 11th meeting of India-UAE Joint Defence Cooperation Committee, JDCC, held on Tuesday. During the meeting, it was agreed to hold the next meeting of JDCC in UAE next year. The JDCC is the apex body between the defence ministries of India and UAE to comprehensively review and guide all aspects of bilateral defence cooperation. This is All India Radio giving you the news. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on our Twitter handle at AIR News Alerts.
Government of India has allowed import of 20 lakh metric tons each of crude soybean oil and crude sunflower seed oil per year for a period of 2 years at nil rate of customs duty and agricultural infrastructure and development cess. This will provide significant relief to the consumers. The exemption from customs duty and agricultural infrastructure and development cess is effective from Wednesday. The exemption will help cool domestic prices and control inflation. The S&P 500 and the Nasdaq index fell as worries that aggressive moves to curb decades-high inflation might tip the U.S. economy into recession dampened investors' risk appetite. The Dow Jones Industrial Average Index added 0.2%, while the S&P 500 declined 0.8% and the Nasdaq Composite tumbled 2.4%. A report from the business desk.
The Sensex lost 303 points or 0.56% to close at 53,749, while the Nifty slipped 99 points or 0.62% to finish at 16,026. At global stock markets, Asian stock markets traded mixed before the latest Federal Reserve meeting minutes. China's Shanghai Composite Index climbed 1.2%, South Korea's Kospi gained 0.4%, and Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index added 0.3%. On the other hand, Singapore's Straits Times slipped 0.5%, and Japan's Nikkei 225 fell 0.3%. European share markets were up modestly in intraday trade. Oil prices rose, supported by tight supplies and the prospect of rising demand from the summer driving season in the United States. In intraday trade, Brent crude was trading at around $114.75 per barrel. Back home, gold price lost 190 rupees at multi-commodity exchange for June contracts. The precious metal was trading at 50,965 rupees per 10 gram. Silver prices also fell 625 rupees to 61,350 rupees per kilogram for July contracts when reports last came in. And in the forex market, the rupee today appreciated 6 paisa against the US dollar. The rupee closed at 77 rupees and 53 paisa against the US currency. Anubha Rohatgi for World News, All India Radio.
India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi has asked the agencies working in infrastructure sector to map the projects with water bodies being developed under Amrit Sarovar. Mr. Modi said this would be a win-win situation as the material dug out for the Amrit Sarovars can be utilized for civil works by the agencies. Prime Minister on Wednesday chaired the meeting of 40th edition of Pragati, which is the ICT-based multimodal platform for proactive governance and timely implementation involving centre and state governments. In the meeting, 9 agenda items were taken for review, including 8 projects and 1 program. These 8 projects have a cumulative cost of over 59,900 crore rupees concerning the 14 states of the country. The 3rd edition of the Indian Navy and Bangladesh Navy bilateral exercise Bongasagar commenced at Port Mongla, Bangladesh. The harbour phase of exercise is underway. It will be followed by a sea phase in the northern Bay of Bengal starting on Thursday. Exercise Bongasagar is aimed at developing a high degree of interoperability and joint operational skills through the conduct of a wide spectrum of maritime exercises and operations between the two navies. Indian naval ships Kora and indigenously built guided missile Corvette and Sumedha, an indigenously built offshore patrol vessel, are participating in the exercise. Bangladesh Navy is being represented by BNS Abu Ubaidah and Ali Haider, both guided missile frigates.
The United Arab Emirates has become the first Gulf state to record a case of monkeypox. The Czech Republic and Slovenia also reported their first cases on Tuesday, joining 18 other countries to detect the virus outside its usual Africa base. That number is expected to rise further still, but experts say the overall risk to the general population remains low. Outbreaks of the virus have been found in Europe, Australia and America. The symptoms often include a fever and a rash, but the infection is usually mild. The World Health Organization has said that the virus can be contained with the right response in countries outside of Africa where it is usually not detected. In Iraq, terrorists from the Islamic State group killed 12 civilians and wounded at least 6 in 2 separate attacks. The security officials said attacks occurred on Monday evening in Kirkuk and Diyala provinces, where farmers came under fire while harvesting their crops. The Iraqi security media cell told that 6 civilians were killed in the attack in the village of Sami Asi, south of the city of Kirkuk. Earlier, IS launched an attack on Diyala's town of Gulala, killing 6 residents. The Sunni extremist group claimed responsibility for the Kirkuk attack, claimed that it killed 5 Shiites in their agricultural fields in Al-Rashad area in Kirkuk and set fire to 5 vehicles.
In Brazil, at least 21 people were shot dead in a Rio de Janeiro slum on Wednesday during a police raid to capture the leaders of drug trafficking organization. Military police said they came under gunfire as they approached the northern Rio slum, Villa Cruzeiro, in the morning hours in the mission of locating and arresting criminal leaders. 7 wounded people were taken to hospital, including a policeman. At least 19 schools in the area closed because of the gunfire, residents said. India's Information and Broadcasting Minister Anurag Thakur has applauded the role of Indian media during the challenging times of COVID-19 pandemic. Addressing the 17th Asia Media Summit through video conferencing in New Delhi on Wednesday, the minister said Indian media ensured that the COVID awareness messages, important government guidelines and free consultations with doctors reach everyone in the country. He said Doordarshan and All India Radio significantly delivered on their mandate of public service during the difficult times by setting the trend through prompt coverage, ground reports and organizing programs on public health.
Digital footprints of All India Radio News gather pace, cross 3 million followers on Twitter. The Information and Broadcasting Ministry said that when it comes to trust and authenticity in the news media industry, News Network of All India Radio outshines one and all. Reuters Institute vouched for the same in a report in 2021, and this is further corroborated by the trailblazing milestones being achieved by the digital platforms of All India Radio News Network. The ministry said the most recent being 3 million followers on Twitter. Since entering the social media platform in 2013, AII News Twitter handle has seen consistent growth, with impressions clocking around 1 million per day. Apart from this handle, regular updates are also available on AIR News Hindi and AIR News Urdu. AIR is also disseminating news in regional languages through its 44 Twitter handles across all states and union territories. In yet another landmark, the number of followers on Facebook for AIR News has crossed 3.4 million. The followers on the AIR News Facebook page are from more than 43 different countries. Radio shows like World News Program, with focus on Indian perspective, became popular in a very short span of time. 25th May is World Thyroid Day. The day is observed on this day every year to promote awareness and understanding of thyroid diseases, their symptoms, prevention and treatments. It is dedicated to those suffering from thyroid and all those working around the world to better understand and treat thyroid disorders. The day was officially adopted as World Thyroid Day during the annual general meeting prior to the European Thyroid Association Congress in September 2007. As per a report by Public Health Update, globally more than 200 people are estimated to be dealing with thyroid disorders, and 50% of these cases remain undiagnosed.
The 123rd birth anniversary of the national poet of Bangladesh, Qazi Nazrul Islam, is being celebrated on Wednesday. Cultural and social organizations across the country are organizing programs on this occasion to pay tribute to Qazi Nazrul Islam. The birth anniversary program of the poet started with the Minister of State for Culture, K.M. Khalid, laying wreath on the grave of Qazi Nazrul Islam in the Dhaka University area Wednesday morning. Other eminent personalities, including Director General of Bangla Academy, Poet Muhammad Nurul Huda, Director General of National Museum, Khondakar Mustafizur Rahman, and senior officials from the government also paid floral tribute to the poet. The Bangladesh government has announced the theme of the birth centenary of Qazi Nazrul as Rebel Centenary. Indira Gandhi Cultural Centre, IGCC, High Commission of India on Tuesday organized an evening of Nazrul songs to celebrate the birth anniversary of Qazi Nazrul Islam. In French Open tennis, world number 1 Novak Djokovic and third-seeded Alexander Zverev have progressed to men's singles third round. Defending champion Djokovic saw off Slovakia's Alec Molken by 6-2, 6-3, 7-6, 7-4, while Zverev overcame Argentina's Sebastian Baez by 2-6, 4-6, 6-1, 6-2, 7-5. Former Grand Slam champions Angelique Kerber and Victoria Azarenka advanced to the third round of women's singles. Kerber defeated French wildcard Elsa Jacquemot by 6-1, 7-6, 7-2. Azarenka, a two-time Australian Open winner, defeated Andrea Petkovic by 6-1, 7-6, 7-3. In men's doubles event, India's Ramkumar Ramanathan and American Hunter Reese defeated the old German duo of Daniel Altmaier and Oscar Otte by 7-6, 6-3 in the first round. In the mixed doubles, 10th seeded Sania Mirza will be in action with Ivan Dode on Wednesday. The pair of Sania Mirza and Lucy Hardeka will begin their women's doubles campaign on Thursday. Indians Rohan Bopanna will be in action in the mixed doubles with Andrea Klepak on Thursday. The Indo-Dutch pair of Rohan Bopanna and Matvey Middlegroup will meet A. Golubtsev and F. Martin in the second round of men's doubles event. In IPL cricket, Royal Challengers Bangalore have set a victory target of 208 runs before Lucknow Super Giants in the playoffs eliminator match at Eden Gardens, Kolkata. In reply, Lucknow Super Giants were 62 for 2 in 6 overs when reports last came in. Earlier, Lucknow won the toss and elected to field first in the match that was delayed due to rain.
Now let us take a look at the major developments around the world as reported in the foreign press. First, we have a look at the press reports on China. PTI and ANI report that US President Joe Biden contrasted India's success with China's failure in handling the COVID-19 pandemic, praising Prime Minister Narendra Modi during a closed-door session of the Quad Summit in Tokyo on Tuesday. Mr. Biden praised PM Modi for handling the COVID pandemic successfully in a democratic manner. Al Jazeera writes, a leak of thousands of photos and official documents from China's Xinjiang province has shed new light on the extent of abuses, including mass internment targeting the Uyghur and other Muslim minorities, according to media reports. CNBC writes that China will likely recover more slowly from the latest COVID shock as compared to its recovery in the 2020 outbreak. Xinhua writes that China has warned that the U.S. is playing with fire after President Joe Biden said that Washington would defend Taiwan military if the self-governed island is attacked by Beijing.
Now let's have a look at the press reports on Nepal. The Khabur Hub reports that President Vidya Devi Bhandari presented the policies and programs of the government for the coming fiscal year 2022-23 in the Parliament. The Khabur Hub reports that the government will bring social media under the tax net from the next year. Now let's have a look at the press reports on Balochistan. The Balochistan Post writes calls of women protesting in the front of Karachi Press Club on Monday for the safe release of their missing loved ones were manhandled and arrested by the Karachi police. Balochistan Post writes that 5 Baloch people, and including a student, were allegedly picked up by the Pakistani security forces from the Maripur village in Karachi's west. The Express Tribune writes that Balochistan province is reeling under a massive cholera outbreak as 85% of the population is deprived of clean drinking water.
Now let's have a look at the press reports on Pakistan. The Frontier Post reports that Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif has declared that there would be no compromise on establishing the state's writ and anyone disrupting the law and order situation will be dealt with severely. A quick look now at the headlines once again. India puts new reality on display with Davos Street Show. Indian Minister Dr. Mansukh Mandaviya exhorts India's commitment to strengthen digital health system and in closing the vaccine gap. In United States, 19 children and 2 adults killed in a shooting attack at an elementary school in southern state of Texas. 3 Pakistani terrorists killed in an encounter with security forces in North Kashmir's Baramulla district. Delhi court awards life imprisonment to Kashmiri separatist Yasin Malik under Unlawful Activities Prevention Act, UAPA. U.S. stock markets stumbled triggered by worries of aggressive federal moves to curb decade-high inflation might tip the economy into recession. Digital footprints of All India Radio News gather pace, cross 3 million followers on Twitter. Former Grand Slam champions Angelique Kerber and Victoria Azarenka advanced to third round of women's singles of French Open tennis. Novak Djokovic and A. Zverev also proceed to men's singles third round. And now, before we end, let's listen to Mahatma Gandhi's favorite bhajan, Vaishnav Jan, by artists from Jordan. And with that, we end this bulletin. We'll be back at the same time tomorrow with the next edition of World News.